What's up, everybody? This is Stephen A. And my friend, Mr. Dear Abby himself, the one and only Michael Collins, has a brand new podcast called Maddie and the Caddy. I stopped by to check it out, and you should too, because not only am I on, but the one and only Jack Nicklaus is this week's guest.
Now on the tee, it's Maddie and the Caddy. Here's Matt Barry and Michael Collins.
So much to get to on episode 2 of Maddie and the Caddy, the Jack Nicklaus round. If we're calling it the Jack Nicklaus round, of course, the greatest of all time, Jack Nicklaus. We caught up with him earlier in the week at Shinnecock prior to all of the stuff at the U.S. Open.
You think Jack would have had something fun to say about Mickelson stuff?
And he was great as it was. So We'll get to Jack Nicklaus. We'll get to Brooks Koepka winning back-to-back U.S. Opens. I want to get into golf gods. I want to get into idiots in the gallery. I want to get into all of this.
At least no blimp crash this year.
Yeah, that was a good thing like it did at Erin Hills.
Yeah.
But I do want to start with Phil Mickelson.
Yeah.
And what was the overwhelming storyline.
But let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Did we start with Phil, or do we start with why Phil got to the point that he got to? And that is the USGA messed up again.
That was another bullet point.
Right after Mike Davis promised, listen, we promise it is never going to happen again. We're going to make sure of it. I guarantee. What did he do? I guarantee.
Well, we'll get to, there's plenty to talk on the USGA because it was the USGA. But yes, that is kind of the underlying issue going into the Phil Mickelson
Saturday.
But, all right, you were there.
Yeah,
I'm going to set you up in a couple of ways for the Phil Mickelson story where he didn't let his ball finish rolling on the 13th, went up and hit it while it was moving, which is a 2-shot violation, ended up getting a 10 on the hole. And when he did it, the golf world stopped, melted, Twitter went nuts, and then everybody had a varying opinion.
The media center went crazy.
Okay, that's why I want to ask you. Number one, you were there when it happened in the media center, and there are sometimes media that likes to take it really, really seriously.
Okay, first off, I'm going to be honest and tell everyone, I'm going to pull the curtain back on everybody.
Yeah.
When it first happened, no one thought it was real.
What do you mean?
Everybody thought it was like a tape or a video.
Like a practice round?
Yes. No one, there was a collective, like, what? Is that? And everyone looked at one another like, you saw that, right? Like this. And it says, there's a little thing there that says live, but there was a collective pause when everyone, because there was talking going on and whatnot, because everyone was already, the other thing pulling the curtain back, the same people that were so mad at this Phil Mickelson doing something like this were the same people, excuse my language, about how unfair and terrible the course was, and complaining about the USGA did it again. And then as soon as that happened with Phil, it was like, how dare Phil do that?
It was a very big pearl clutching moment on social media. It was
hide the children.
It was amazing to me. Here's what I'll say about Phil. And I want you talk to players and caddies. I want all of that as well.
All right.
Here's what I'll say is a guy that didn't professionally work in the sport of golf. I'm in the media. I didn't caddy like yourself. I didn't play. I'm not professionally in the sport. I'm a guy, when I go play with buddies, I'll roll the ball to improve my lie in the fairway. I'm one of those dudes.
But you know what? You're in the majority.
So right. And so
as a golfer who loves the game, you're in the majority.
So that's the prism I'm seeing it through.
Right.
So when I see it, I look at it and I say, okay, Phil broke a rule. He blatantly broke a rule. He should be penalized. Let's move on.
Right.
I'm not one of those that think he cheated. And let me explain the difference between the two.
Okay.
Blatantly breaking a rule like Phil did is in front of everyone to see. He didn't care anyone saw. He did it. He was clearly
He was doing it.
He was fed up. He was clearly making a statement. That's why he did it. To me, cheating is when no one's looking and you roll your ball or you drop a ball or you do something that you don't want to be caught doing.
Or like in other sports, football and basketball especially, where you commit a foul and the ref don't blow the whistle and you're like, oh, I can get away with this.
That's cheating. Doing something hoping not to get caught is cheating.
Correct.
That he should have been disqualified for if he was doing that. He didn't do that. He broke a rule.
Right.
And so
this is the other thing where everyone freaked out is because there are two different rules. And there's rule 1-2 and rule 14-5, which for me, again, from now on, I just want everyone to know, I'm going to say it from now on. I am no longer for fun going to go play golf. You know what I'm going to go play? I'm going to go play common sense. Because golf is not common sense.
It's not.
It's stupid.
Let me tell you, your common sense handicap will be much higher than your...
Well, yeah, probably. Probably. I don't know if I can get people to gamble playing common sense with me, but I don't care. I'm not playing golf anymore. I'm going to go play common sense. Rule 1-2. If a ball is moving, whether it's going towards a hazard, an out of bounds, or going somewhere you don't want it to go, and you put a club down or let's use your foot to just stop the ball. If you just try to stop or deflect the ball and you don't make a motion other than trying to stop, like a goalie stopping a puck. If you just put the stick down and stop the puck, that's a DQ. That will get you DQ'd. Now, as what Phil did, because that rule is rule 1-2. If it's called deflection. If you just put something down to deflect the ball,
to stop it going
from where it's going to end up, that's deflection. What Phil did was he hit a moving ball. Hit means he actually purposely made a stroke, almost made the putt.
That'd have been great.
That would have been awesome. Almost makes it. But because he actually made a swing at the moving ball and didn't just stop it, there's two different rules there.
And now, I buy that he knew that.
I do. Yeah,
I buy that he knew that if he stopped it, he knew that he was done.
Yeah. I would also say he wasn't going to try and stop it because of the slope that it was on.
Right.
Because if he stopped it and then picked his club up, it was going to roll down the hill anyway and go where it was going. So where he actually swung at the ball to pop it back towards the hole, if he would have just stopped it, or I'm doing air quotes, deflected it, then he would have got DQ. But I think he knew the rule anyway. What was funny to me was when first in the media center, people are freaking out.
Yep.
He's got to be DQ'd. He better never show his face tomorrow. And people lost their minds. And I'm going to give credit to a guy, Bob Estes, who on Twitter said, well, he could have just taken it unplayable. He could have let the ball roll out. And once it stopped, he could have taken it unplayable and then put it back and hit the exact same putt again. And it would have only been a 1-stroke penalty.
Okay. Stay there because we get into the minutia of the rule.
Yeah.
Why do you believe the bulk of the media thought that he should disqualify himself or be disqualified? Why do you think that is?
I truly believe that I'll say what Ian O'Connor said and he wrote a column.
Yes, he did.
And we were staying in the same house. And yeah, we are colleagues and I love Ian to death, but I am totally on the opposite side of where he's coming from. He said it violates the spirit of the game. That's what bothered him the most, is that it was all about, for him, it was all about intent. But where the USGA kind of did the Heisman in Ian's face was, Rule 14.5 is not a rule of intent. There is no you made a swing at a golf ball that was moving. Whether you do that in the fairway or on the green or on the tee, if the ball is moving if you top a ball off the tee and you run up and hit it while it's rolling, that's a 2-stroke penalty. There's no what was your intent there. That has nothing to do with what he said. But where everyone was mad and upset was children. What are you going to say to the children that are watching and see you set an example like that? And my comeback to that was, do you think children were watching what happened on Saturday? No. And if children were watching, do you think they're looking at that going, yeah, I would love to play that game?
Children see much worse watching football, basketball, baseball, crotch grabs.
My thing with the USG, if your job is to grow the game, why did you do something so stupid to that golf course as to make kids watch and go, I ain't doing that. I'm not playing.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the byproduct of where we now fast forward. Because I had you on SportsCenter on Sunday morning, and I had asked you, and I'm going to ask you again, because Saturday was such a clown show for the USGA to have a Hall of Famer, one of the legends of the game, pull that stunt, got everybody up in arms. What it did is it brought more attention to how awful the course was. I asked you Sunday morning, I said, you've talked to players, you've talked to caddies, what's been their reaction? What was the conversation? You don't have to give me names, but what were you hearing from players and caddies about Phil?
It was the same as the general public. They were split. Phil fans, the people that love Phil and his fans are fervent.
Which I do.
And again, there's two camps. There's a Tiger camp and a Phil camp.
I'm both.
Yeah, well,
I'm weird.
I'm a fan of golf. Like people freak out that I'm like, I'm friends with both Phil and Tiger. Mm-hmm. Like I'm cool with them. And you got to pick one? No, I don't. I don't do that. The people that love Phil Mickelson were like, man, we so understand why he did that because it was so unfair the way it was set up. And the people that hate Phil were like, now watch and see what the USGA does to protect the golden child because there's nothing he could do. If Tiger Woods would have done that, they'd be calling for his head. And that was, and talking to players, I had two players that were completely split. I had one player telling me, good for him. Good for him. He should have done that. The USGA effed it up. I won't say what he said. And the other player was like, that's a shatty move, and it was, I'll just say, another SH word that rhymes with gritty.
Yeah.
And he was mad. He was mad that Phil did something like that. Okay. One guy was cool with it and was like, good, Phil made a point. And my thing, too, is for all the people that are like, even if the USGA did mess the course up, that's not how to get them to, really? Well, what is? Because how many times
Sunday?
How many times did you have what? Yeah, but it shouldn't get to that.
Oh, I agree.
And this is the thing: how many times does the USGA have to over? We'll do Charlie Murphy. The USGA is a habitual line stepper. They habitually step over the line. You know what I'm saying? They are habitual line steppers. And what's the only recourse for a player to get them to stop doing that? Exactly what Phil Mickelson did. Exactly what Phil Mickelson did.
I agree.
And my problem with the USGA is you did that to a golf course and then have the nerve to put on TV commercials of people just having a great old time. Just laughing, giggling, having a good time. Golf course that are green and lush and very little rough. Go out and if you only got time, just go play 9.
Yeah.
Have a good old time.
And then you come back
and then you come back to this. Yes.
You've got brown greens and fescue the size of a toddler. And it just doesn't add up.
No.
And I want to know, because again, I didn't work inside the ropes like you did. I just want to know and understand why people were so, there was a part during the broadcast, I jokingly tweeted it. I'm like, all right, so let's handcuff Phil and throw him into the pit of misery.
Someone did tweet out too that the president's going to have to pardon Phil.
I just didn't understand. It didn't offend me.
Well, bro, Curtis Strange, you could tell in that interview afterwards, Curtis Strange was not only, he was mad, and then when Phil gave him the answer, was then even, ready to blow. Yeah.
And Curtis Strange, a colleague of ours, Masters Week, and he is old school.
He
was the last to win the U.S. Open back-to-back times. He's an old school golf guy.
Yes, and so something like that,
Andy North wasn't happy about.
Well, people say you'd never see Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus do something like that. Well, guess what? The USGA didn't set up courses that way. So don't say that, stupid, because you don't know. You know what? Let me talk to Jack and Arnie about, hey, did the USGA ever habitually line step when y'all was playing? Because I don't remember that ever happening. Ever.
I said this to someone. I said, what Phil Mickelson did was perfectly on brand for Phil. And people just kind of looked at me with the dog head tilt. Like, what the hell are you talking about? And I said, Phil Mickelson has always been a man of the people. He's always been a man of the people. And idiots like me and other people that go out and golf, they've done that 100 times. And so the reaction I was getting from people was like, good for Phil. I do it too.
And the funny thing was, number one, so as soon as he does it, Beef goes, I'm sorry, dude. I gotta laugh at that.
They both did.
Beef bust up laughing at it. And then on walking to the next hole, Phil is smiling and giving the thumbs up to the crowd.
That's what ticked people off. The old schoolers. Because not only
I'm cool with that though.
But
like,
not only do you break a rule in a U.S. Open, then you laugh about it.
No.
That's when it got bad.
Well, this is where you don't understand crazy. Like, not everyone who snaps, and then, like, Curtis Strange. When Curtis Strange snaps, he'll F-bomb everybody. Andy's the same way.
Yep.
When Andy snaps, you know it because you see the steam coming out of his ears, and they're F-bombing and throwing stuff.
Tiger.
They're going absolutely crazy.
All of them.
But not everyone does that when they snap. Some people snap and do the and you're like,
smile
oh,
snap.
that's crazy. Like, you got to know, like, that's crazy too.
It's like the girl that'll like just yell at you, and then the one that goes, "I'll find you."
Right. There's two different types of crazy.
So
and
you
just
think
because
he
you're only
snapped?
looking for one, oh, he definitely snapped. And here's where he got called out. Where you go, he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly, maybe not. You know why? Because he said, oh, I knew exactly, and I knew what was going to happen this until we talked to Beef. And I got Beef on tape saying the first thing Phil said to him was, I don't know what that is. So he said the same thing to the scorer too. I don't know what that is. Score-wise, I don't know what that is. Now, if you know exactly what you're doing and you know the rule, like Phil said he knew the rule, then he knew as soon as he swiped at it, that's 2 strokes. So I got to add 2 onto there. Now, I will say this, and I'm not trying to defend Phil, but when you make it 10, by about stroke 6, you ain't counting no more.
No, you're done. You don't care.
So when he made that swipe, he was like, that was either 7 or 8. I don't know.
I don't think he snapped. I think he's like, the hell with this. I'm not going down there. This course is a clown show.
No, when he started running towards that ball before it got to the hill, that you could almost hear the little right in the back of the neck.
It's tough. I don't know. It's tough to think. My prevailing thought with the film, I don't blame him for why he
Give me one guy, even the guy who sent me the message and was
I'm glad
like,
he did.
Give me the guy, even the guy who sent the message and said it was shady and blanky. Like, even he has to admit that at some point he's felt that way. He's gotten to a point, and I don't know one golfer, professional or amateur, that hasn't felt like that.
How many times has Phil Mickelson been bitten by the U.S. Open? He's got a record 6 runner-ups.
And the funny thing
It's
is,
just been boiling his whole career.
so John Daly does it and walks off the course. Like, when John Daly did it, he quit. He was like, I'm out. I'm not coming back. You can kiss my booty. Now Phil does it, and Phil's got the stones to go, no, I'll be back tomorrow. And people are mad. Like, this is the other thing where I get mad when it's the same people that are like, how dare Phil do that? He should have disqualified himself and walked away. If he would have, you know what you would have said? How dare Phil not come back and show the respect to the game to try? Like, you just quit?
Do that.
You're not going to try anymore?
What kind of lesson is that sending the kids, quitting? You have to own up to your mistakes.
And then, you know what? You come back tomorrow and you try again. And that's exactly what Phil did.
Okay, so the reaction when he parred 13th and mimicked his celebration after winning a major.
Well, first, let's go to 14. What he did afterwards, another thing where he had enough. This is another thing where it's the whole snap. The whole location on 14 was at a spot where he hit a putt instead of going for the hole. He hit it up the slope and then tried to bring it back. He was playing goofy golf. He was literally playing goofy golf, and then he made the putt from 3.5 feet for par there on 14 afterwards. After basically what he did on 13, he gets to 14 and hits the green in regulation and goes, all right, you want me to play goofy golf? And he walks off with a par. And then I even told him on Sunday, you're talking about the celebration that he did on 13 after making the par, like he had won, and the crowd went nuts too.
I kind of liked it.
Dude, I walked up to him when he was signing autographs, and I love the fact that he didn't even speak to the media afterwards. I tapped him on the shoulder, and he turned it, and I go, dude, I love what you did on 13 today. That was awesome. And he smiles, and he goes, thanks, Mike. Thanks, man. And I was like, I just wanted to tell you. That was awesome.
I loved the celebration.
So did I.
What he did, as we segue into the talk of the USGA, he promoted a conversation that was bigger than the tournament. I know a lot of people didn't like that. But when we look at this U.S. Open as a whole, Friday was really the only good day in terms of course setup. Thursday was okay. Friday was okay.
And Thursday and Friday were all because of weather.
That's it. Saturday was a joke. And because of
Sunday
Saturday
was,
being
I'm
a
sorry.
joke, it was overcorrection.
Even though Brooks Koepka Caddy did say, and it's in Caddy Confidential, that when they got to the back nine, the greens didn't hold anymore because the wind picked up.
But
you know, here's the last thing I'll say about
yeah.
yes, the last thing I'll say about Phil Mickelson and about what he did on Sunday. For the people that are going to complain about that, you know what? Again, the USGA's job is to grow the game. What Phil Mickelson did on Sunday, if a kid was watching on Saturday and then came back and watched on Sunday, you just saw someone who got beat up by the game and by a hole come back the next day.
And by the court of public opinion.
Correct.
And his peers.
Come back the next day and go, today I won. And I got you, Mr. Hole. And I made my par. And guess what? When you get knocked down, I got back up again and I played the hole and I got it. Like, you go tell a child that that's a bad message. Tell a kid that from what he did on Saturday to what he did on Sunday is a bad lesson to learn. And I will tell you to put yourself in timeout.
Yeah, Phil Mickelson's new again at the age of 48 because everyone's talking about him. Phil Mickelson is brand new all over again. I'll leave it with this on the USGA because I think we've kind of used that within the point of Phil Mickelson. Ricky Fowler was 19 shots better from Saturday to Sunday. 19 shots better. Don't tell me they didn't overcorrect. 19 shots better is a joke. And the USGA has to be careful because it's our celebrated national championship. And I watched, I'm trying to think of a term that's not going to offend people here. I watched two different people on two different days, and the course was the person. The course showed up in a horrible mood on Saturday, and you're like, oh my God, watch yourself. And that same person the next day comes up, hey, how are you? What's going? Great seeing you again. It's like, whoa.
I brought snacks.
Whoa. You told me
you hated
to
me.
go to hell yesterday.
Yes.
That I'm the worst person ever. And then today you bring snacks.
Right.
Today you're inviting me to your house.
Want to sit down? Just want a hug.
It had an identity crisis.
Yes.
And I don't need that anymore.
No.
And you don't need that anymore.
No.
Golf doesn't need it anymore.
The other thing that bothers me the most about the USGA is, have you ever heard of them messing up a U.S. amateur?
No.
You ever heard of messing up the course at a U.S. Mid-Am?
Nope.
I've never even really heard of a horrific incident at a women's U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you have such a problem with the professional men's game? Why do you feel the need to try and go, look at what we can do to these guys if we want to?
If we want to, right.
But the problem is then when you do it and there's a backlash, you go, oh, we didn't want to do that, but you keep doing it.
What did you think of Mike Davis showing up on the Fox broadcast at the end of Saturday?
I think that he didn't have a choice.
No, I think that he had to.
Yeah, he didn't have a choice. This is the same guy who, when we talked to him last year, said, I guarantee you Shinnecock like 2004 will never happen again. It'll never happen again. Okay, man. Mike. Hey, Mike. Lucas Glover's wife's right over there. Want to hang out with her for a little bit? It won't happen again. I promise.
Oh, wow. You went there.
Yeah, I did.
Lucas Glover off
Yeah,
the course.
I did.
Yeah, look.
Only because I love Lucas Glover. So if I didn't love him, I wouldn't needle him.
We will rank the 2018 U.S. Open at Shinnecock. It'll be the Phil Mickelson U.S. Open. We do want to talk about Brooks for a second because to go back-to-back first to do it since Curtis Strange back in the late 80s, 88, 89, he showed exactly what makes Brooks Koepka great, his ability to overpower the tee, but he doesn't get flapped by anything. He's smart, and he hits putts when he need to. Rarely, other than any tournament in the U.S. Open, can you say a bogey won in the tournament, but I believe that bogey on 11 on the par 3 when he went long, chipped it back up and made that long putt for bogey.
It's funny that you said
he's
that.
Unflappable.
I asked his caddy what was the shot of the tournament, and that's exactly what he said.
Yep.
He went long on 11, and he goes, his term was, we could have stood there playing tennis all day, which is going back and forth, back and forth. And he goes, the fact that he hit a good chip there knowing it wouldn't stay on the green, and then that bunker shot and making up 4 there, it was like, that was it. You know, he had 2-3 putts all week. That's it. He was number 2 in driving distance. He was number 4 in greens and regulation, and he was number 2 in strokes gained putting. Like that, to win a U.S. Open, there you go.
That's what he plays U.S. Open golf, and now you're talking about a guy like Dustin Johnson that has 4 top 5s in the last 5 years at U.S. Opens. We saw at a Brooks this weekend what Dustin Johnson didn't have going into the weekend. It was the putter.
No, but Dustin Johnson, you know what? He got broke on that. What they did on Saturday broke him.
He was 4 under.
It broke
into Saturday.
Yeah, he had a 4-shot lead, and that course setup just absolutely broke him. Here you go. He played in the final group with Scott Piercy. You know what Scott Piercy ended at? Started at even going into Saturday.
Let me guess. I think it was +8.
Total?
Yeah.
15.
I'm sorry, what? 15.
He shot 9 over on Saturday and 6 over on Sunday.
Oh, my God.
He ended at +15, which was a tie for 44th, but this is the USGA. Like and it stinks because there's so many people at the USGA, like everyone that works in the media center for the USGA. Oh, just
awesome people.
Pete Kowalski and Steph DePilla. Like
great staff.
I love them, all of them. And the last thing I want is anyone who has done any kind of work for us in the media has always been fantastic and bent over backwards. And this is not a shot at them. And I don't want anybody like that I deal with every day to think that I'm taking a shot at them because it's not their fault. They had nothing to do with this. But Mike Davis is responsible. And I will say it right to his face. And I did afterwards. I kept saying, how come you never err on the safe side? Why
he didn't want a 16 under par winner?
He won't say that though. They won't say that.
It's hailed as the toughest test in golf. What we saw over the weekend was an absolute tire fire. Amen. So Brooks Koepka, your back-to-back winner of the U.S. Open. Pebble Beach is next year, I believe. Could he win 3 in a row? Certainly.
No one's ever done that.
No one's ever done it. He appears to have the kind of game. He appears to be built for U.S. Opens. It's amazing to me now he's got more major championships than Dustin Johnson. That's a story for another day.
Yeah.
I did say that I wanted to get into golf gods, and I feel that it's the right thing to do. We've all played golf.
Well, first, do you think Koepka can win 3 in a row?
I do.
Really?
I think he is to a U.S. Open what Jordan Spieth is to a Masters.
Oh, look at you.
There's just something about the style of play that fits a guy like Brooks Koepka.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
Do you?
I do think that his style of golf does fit the U.S. Open, but 3 in a row.
It's tough.
And the way that he had to go through what he went through to get to win this one, unless he's going to sit on the sofa from November past the Masters.
Doesn't matter. He'll look like Popeye in the rough and just bust through it.
The problem is, though, like because he was sitting on the sofa for so long, that made that hunger burn more than what I think it would have if he was playing throughout.
Golf hunger or food hunger?
Both.
Weightlifting hunger?
Yeah, well,
Dustin Johnson?
Yeah.
Drinking protein shakes, doing curls? That's their thing. They love doing some
protein shakes.
That's what they do. Those two do. So,
I know.
Hey, look, we'll see if he can get it done at Pebble Beach. I started talking about golf gods. We all believe in them. Golf gods exist.
Oh, yeah.
And for those who downloaded episode 1 of Maddie and the Caddy, the SVP round, we thank you for your support. We thank you for the feedback on social media. But you also, the prevailing favorite story from Maddie and the Caddy episode 1, the SVP round, was the one of Michael Collins getting fired by Daniel Chopra's wife and the fight that they almost got into at a tournament. So Michael texted me on Thursday.
Is karma, man.
This Wednesday or Thursday you text me?
It was Thursday.
Okay, so he texted me Wednesday.
The podcast came out that Tuesday.
So yeah, you text me Wednesday, and Michael and I have been fortunate enough in our career to come across some really fun, interesting people.
Yep.
You have a fantastic Rolodex. I have a nice one. So we wouldn't be surprised by anything. So he texted me, Michael texted me, it's in all caps and 75 exclamation points. Guess who just walked into the media center? And I'm like, oh gosh, this could be anyone. So for whatever reason, I still don't know why my person was Katie Nolan, but my response to you was Katie Nolan. I don't know why the hell I said Katie Nolan, but that was my answer. No. Katie Nolan? It wasn't Katie Nolan. So then he
better shot if you say Katie Couric.
Right. So then he fires back, check our Instagram. And I'm like, oh no. There's going to be a picture of Collins and like Snooki from.
Oh my gosh. From Jersey Shore.
No. So then I look and golf gods wanted this to happen. Who did you run into at the media center the day after Maddie and the Caddy posted?
Daniel Chopra. And he had different color hair. His hair is now dark.
Walk me through the story, because
Okay.
mid-walk, I'm dying laughing looking at this picture.
Because I go, and it was at dining too. That was the ironic thing. So I'm in there getting ready to have lunch. I put my stuff down, and as I go back to grab a bottle of water, I'm walking back to my table, and I hear, "Hey, Mike." You just love that accent. And I look up, and I'm like, "Daniel?" And he was like, "Hey." And I was like, "Wait, what are you doing here?" And it turns out he was doing some work for one of the overseas television companies. So he was doing some stuff there. And I was like, "Dude, you're not going to believe this." And then I said to him, I was like, "Yo, are you on like Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, anything?" He was like, "No, not on any of those, Mike." And I was like, "Okay." Cause I kept thinking, I was like, "We got to take a picture, man. It's been forever." And then he was recalling, we were talking about that 2004 U.S. Open.
Had he listened to the podcast?
No, I don't even know if anyone told him about it, but I did say, I was like, "Man, I literally was just talking about you, dude." I was just
Does he
talking
know
about
in
you.
what way you were talking about him?
I don't know if he knows that part. I don't know. But we're friends now. We laughed now. You know what I mean? I would love to say, like, I saw him and I was like, "Man, get out my face. You better not even talk to me," and stuff. But, the beautiful thing is there's a witness who actually saw everything.
So what?
We can just get the nod.
The reunion?
No. Mom was there.
Oh.
Mom was there at the original incident.
Caddy's mom was there?
Caddy's mom was there.
Caddy's mom is in here in studio.
Yeah,
real quick.
she doesn't want. She won't.
She won't talk. But can I confirm? Were you at the incident?
Yes, I was at the incident. I saw it happen.
So you can verify what happened.
I can verify that actually happened.
Told you.
Believe it or not, it actually happened.
Mom was there. Mom
That is
saw it.
unbelievable to me.
It's a good thing that
I just had to
it's a good thing
fact
that
check
Jose.
your story.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that my buddy Jose isn't here, because he would.
And now Stephen A. Smith is hazing.
Oh, what?
I kind of almost want him to come in here.
I know.
Did he already walk by, or did he? No, he didn't walk
Hold
in,
on.
because our producer would have said something. All right, so here's what we're doing. I'm going to give you play-by-play of what's going on. Caddy left the studio. He went to go get Stephen A. Smith to come in here and meet Caddy's mom. So Stephen A. Smith has now walked into the studio.
We're literally recording the podcast right now, so you can just say hi. Go on ahead.
Hello, Stephen A. How are you? Good seeing you. Good.
Pleasure to meet you. How are you? Very, very nice to meet you.
Nice to
Everything's
meet
all right?
you too.
Thank you so much. How's everything going? You know my nickname for your son, right?
No, I don't.
I called him Michael Dear Abby Collins.
Dear Abby.
That's right.
Dear
And I did it on
Abby
First Take
Collins.
the other day because he's sitting there psychoanalyzing folks, giving them every kind of, but come on, Tiger's been through a lot. I mean, 26th, and if he finishes 26th, I mean, that's a good deal. I'm like, what? What? I said, what is this, Dear Abby? What are you doing?
Hey, real quick, can you just give us your take on the Phil Mickelson fiasco?
You know, listen, it breaks golf etiquette. He's been around the game. He knows better. He did it on purpose. We know that. On one hand, okay, what is it, automatic 2-point deduction or whatever?
Yep.
We get all that. The penalty's the penalty. He clearly knew it. He clearly does not care.
Right.
And he's the kind of person that has gotten away with that. Not that particular thing, but he's gotten away with being a rules breaker, a guy that doesn't pretty much has a nonchalant attitude.
Lives on
towards
the
these
edge.
things, lives on the edge. We get it. The problem is not with him. It's with the rest of us. Would we give anybody else that pass?
See, that's what I was saying.
See,
people said if Tiger did that, what would have happened?
It's all about see, to me, particularly in the world of sports, more so than anything else, sports is the closest thing we have in our society, in my opinion, to a meritocracy. Everything else involves spin. But in the world of sports, you got to go out there and you got to perform. And you're performing in public. You don't get to perform behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
So with everybody seeing what you're doing and it being the closest thing to a meritocracy, we can't then allow the sports world to regress to what politics is, what corporate America is, and beyond, where the proverbial glass ceiling exists, where you can find your way to maneuver and around things. No, you don't want that. You don't ever want sports to be about that, Because if you let the merits and the meritocracy portion of, leave the world of sports and engage in politics, spin control, favoritism, and all of that other stuff, once it hits sports, it's over. You can't do anything with anybody. Everything is spin. In sports, we don't have spin. You got to go out there and perform. You can sit up there. It's just like a player, like, he gets upset because he doesn't like what I said or he doesn't like what I wrote or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to talk to this guy. Well, they didn't tell you. I don't have to talk to you to talk about you. You still got to go out there and perform. And I get to chronicle it. So you don't have to talk to me. You can talk to whomever you please. It doesn't matter. You don't get to escape because you got to perform. This is the one venue. This is the one medium in which we get to do that. Everything else involves spin. It involves one's interpretation. It involves politics. It involves power. But in the world of sports, it's about your performance. That's what they market. That's what they sell. And that's ultimately what they get judged by. And that's what we have to keep them accountable to. And if we're going to judge other people, then we have to judge Phil Mickelson the same way. If we let him off, then we have to let everybody off.
See, why didn't we just say it like that?
See?
Why did you say it like that?
You want to know why I don't wear? You don't want to know why I don't get suits as good as his? Because I can't speak as eloquently. Yes. That's why.
I wouldn't go that far.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So that's just a day in the life of Maddie and the Caddy. You run out, you flag down Stephen A. Smith, he meets Mom, and then gives us a soliloquy on Phil Mickelson. I thought it was fantastic. All right, before we get to the Jack Nicklaus interview, so the Chopra thing was phenomenal.
Oh, just the karma. It's karma, period. The fact that we put that podcast out, I had never told the story and who it was.
Yep.
I had never put that out. Our podcast was the first time I'd ever publicly said who the incident happened with almost getting in a fight on the golf course. And then the fact that at the U.S. Open, where, again, I told that another story about being at the U.S. Open with him, the fact that he showed up there was crazy.
That, to me, was the golf gods at work.
Yeah.
And if you haven't listened to episode 1 and you don't know what story we're referring to, subscribe, download to Maddie and the Caddy, and listen to episode 1 of the Daniel Chopra story.
And I promise that I will tell how Steve
that's
Williams,
a new segment coming up at the end of the podcast.
Afterwards,
but coming up next, the greatest of all time, Jack Nicklaus. We sat down with him at Shinnecock. We sat down with him prior to the start of play. So if you're wondering why we don't get the Phil question in there or anything about the tournament, it was more about Jack, the person, going into the U.S. Open.
Ice cream.
That coming up next on Maddie and the Caddy. 18 career major championships, 4 U.S. Opens. I couldn't think of anybody else better to join us at a U.S. Open than the great Jack Nicklaus. And Jack, when you step on a course at a U.S. Open, where do your memories go?
Well, I don't get on the golf course anymore. I'm here at Shinnecock and I haven't seen a hole. I can't get out there. I'll never get to see it. So, but my memories go back to the playing days when I got in the middle of the fairway and enjoyed playing the golf course, playing the competition, and having a chance to win. Absolutely.
I just want to know, for you, your U.S. Open, if you could only have one. If they go, okay, you have...
No, don't ask that silly question. Well, let's have something realistic.
Okay, here's something realistic.
If I could get my 5th one, how's that?
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so, I love that, too.
I'll go back and break Watson's wedge.
Have Pebble. That'd be funny. You'd just be in the corner and then go, hey, Tom, have you checked that? Because it looks a little bent.
Looks like it's unplayable. I don't think you're allowed to use that in Tom.
I think you got to take that out of play. Hey, good luck here with this chip. Bye.
Do you do that, though? Do you go back at some of these tournaments that got away and think of specific moments if you're just having a time by yourself?
Well, I have two that people say what's the best shot or two you'd like to have back in your game? I say Watson's chip at 17 at Pebble Beach and Trevino's chip at 17th at Muirfield. If I had those two back, I won both tournaments.
You'd rather take them back from them for your own. And you look at where the game of golf is. The thing that I love about it is it's the one sport where legends collide with the up and comers. When you look at where we sit right now in the sport with the Tigers and the Phils playing competitive again and some of these young up-and-comers, how healthy is the sport in your mind?
I think the sport of golf, from a competitive standpoint, is as healthy as it's ever been. As a matter of fact, it's it's unbelievable. I mean, people say, who do you think is going to win this week? I said, I don't have the wildest idea. I mean, they've got so many players that are playing well and so many good players that, that's what makes it great. I mean, when I played, it was like, well, who's going to win? I said, well, it's going to be Nicklaus, it's going to be Palmer, it's going to be players, it's going to be, maybe Watson or Trevino. I mean, that's about what we had. We had a couple other guys that they were occasionally there and so forth, but those are the guys. Then when Tiger was playing at his pop, it was Tiger, and you didn't really have anybody else who was really challenging. Occasionally Phil would have been there, or Ernie, or maybe VJ.
Yep.
That kind of thing. But they didn't really. You could always name just about 4. Today, I think you go back where I think Phil is still very competitive. Tiger is now becoming competitive again. You go back to you got Dustin, and you got Ricky, and you got
Justin and
Rory
and Rory. Yeah, Rory hasn't got into form yet.
Jordan, and I mean, you just keep in Hideki, and you go right down the line, and you look at some of the new guys, DeChambeau, and you look at Ben Hahn, who almost won our tournament, and you got player after player after player that are good players and are capable of winning any week. And I think from that standpoint, golf is in the best state it's ever been.
Now, this is all your fault, though.
Why is it my fault?
It's your fault because you raised the level. So you raised the level to here, and then that meant Tiger was watching you. Put your records up on his wall in his bedroom when he was a little boy.
You got to keep going on this, Michael. I don't wonder where you're going, but that's okay.
So
it's going to take a while.
Here's the thing. No, hear me out. You raised the level, so now Tiger puts the records up. So now he comes along, and after you're out there, then you got like Norman and Nick Price and Faldo, and they're up there trying to catch up, and there's a little battle for who's going to be at the top, and all those guys are just as good, but no one shines. And then here comes Tiger. And Tiger comes out and goes, okay, I'm going to try and do what Jack did and try and take it to the next level. And he does. And he's working out. He basically went, I know Gary Player doesn't do 1,000 push-ups every day. I'm going to do like 150. I'm going to get big. I'm going to work out. I'm going to eat healthy. But I'm going to try and play like Jack.
How do you know Gary doesn't do 1,000?
Okay, so maybe 750. Maybe 750. It's okay. I'm just going to say I'm not going to be there just eating 2 pieces of fruit with him while he's working out.
No, that's right.
He said, but I'm just saying.
You're going to have 2 milkshakes. Right?
You're dang all right. I'll be drinking milkshakes watching him. Hey, that's 120. But then Tiger raises the level. So now all of these kids that watch Tiger are going, oh, so this is now what we have to do. And these are the kids that watched him. So it started with you, and then the next, and I'm sure for you
it's
it
all
was
my fault, huh?
Yeah, I blame you.
Okay.
But I would take that, because if you look at to where we are now with the sport, as we had said, how deep it is before, I mean, you look at just the evolution of the game. I love talking with you, and we do television with Andy North, who's in here with us right now. We love talking about the equipment. What would your game have done with the equipment that these guys are playing with today?
Who knows? I don't know. I think I'd have done fine with this equipment. I think the good players would have done fine with the equipment I had. I think that a champion would have been champion in any era.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think they would have accommodated to what they have and what there is and how they had to play. I mean, if we had to go back and play gutta percha balls, I'm sure that the best players today would be the best players back then.
So 24 majors for you.
yeah, because wait a minute.
No, I don't know.
Hold on. You hit a Woodhead and a Balata wound golf ball 300 yards. How far, in your prime, how far are you hitting with this equipment, one of those balls that doesn't spin, that you don't have to worry about? If you catch it maybe a quarter of a centimeter, it's going to spin and like that. So how far are you?
I don't know, Michael. I suppose I'd hit it a long way, but a lot of guys hit it a long way.
Fair enough.
And that's okay. I mean, I think that, and I have no idea what my club head speed was. We didn't measure club head speed back then. We didn't have it. I mean, the first time I had my club head speed measured, I was 58 years old, and I was 118 mile an hour.
At 58?
Wow.
That's what I had. I had it done out in California, and they said, you want to see what your club head speed is? I said, I've never had it done. I was 118, and they said, there's one guy on the senior tour, it was the same as I was. Jim Dett was 118. And so
he was also known as a bomber.
Yeah, Jim hit it a long way. And so, I don't know how fast my club head speed was when we played, but obviously it was faster than that. But there's a lot of guys that are faster. There's a lot of guys that hit long. The guys today, I mean, I used to be. Arnold called me Big Jack. I mean, good gracious, I'm anything but a big guy. I mean, when I was playing, I was just shy of 6 foot and about 185 pounds. I mean, there's 100 guys out there that are, 4 inches taller than I am and 30 bar pounds and get tremendous amount of club head speed. So those guys do bomb it.
Yeah, but tell me about that 1963 PGA long drive contest, though.
Oh.
What about it?
Oh, what?
It was just a lightning in a bottle,
Hold on. Is there a farm around here? Because I smell bull.
Yeah.
Anyway. Tell what happened there.
Oh, we had a driving contest. Actually, it's the first one that we had in the PGA that I competed in, and I hit it 341.17.
Wait, 1963.
Wow.
What was the driver you were using?
It was 42 3/4 inches, a dynamic S shaft with 11.5 degrees, wood driver.
Wood.
And what was
driver.
the golf ball?
They all put the same golf ball. I think they put out Titleist for everybody, and so we all hit the same ball. But
341.
oh yeah, but it was downhill about 4 feet.
So he's still so modest, even with the yardage. Jack, there was something that came out the other day that they posted a schedule of what your schedule was as an 11-year-old in the summer, and it came out on social media, and I saw this.
I haven't seen it.
This is what they said your schedule was as a child growing up.
Oh, this is what this is what I used to do every day. And if I wasn't playing a tournament, I'd get up in the morning.
Right.
And we had to play before 8 o'clock because juniors had to play before 8 o'clock. So I get up in the morning and I walked to the golf course, and the fourth hole was right maybe 500 yards from where I live. So I went down a park and between two houses, and I got to the fourth hole. So I played down the fourth hole, played the ninth hole into the clubhouse, and get there so I could still tee off by 8 o'clock, or before 8 o'clock. So I go play 18 holes, come in, we'd have lunch, go hit balls. Jack Grout would either come out and watch what we're doing and so forth. And then at 4 o'clock, juniors could play again. So I went out and played at 4 o'clock. I played another 18 holes. That's why I ended up playing golf. Because golf was a sport that I didn't have to wait for somebody to throw the ball back to me or defend me or wait for 10 other guys to get in the dusty field to play baseball or something. I mean, I loved all those other sports, but they didn't want to do what I wanted to do. I wanted to play whatever sport I was playing. I wanted to play it all day. Mm-hmm. And golf was the only one I could play all day. I could have played tennis all day, but I would. My dad just introduced me to tennis, but not much then. I love tennis today, and I wish I would have learned when I was younger. But
tennis is still that sport, though, that you need another person. It's not nearly as fun up against a wall.
You definitely need another person, and I play a lot more tennis today than I do golf. But it was. And my dad was a good tennis player. My dad was city tennis champion, so he was, a
little bit of athletics in there.
He enjoyed it. He loved it.
How is the tennis game right now? How
my shoulder's not been very good, so I haven't played much lately. But I just had some stem cells done on my shoulder, so I'm hopefully in another month or so I'll be back hitting the ball on the tennis court.
Are you still allowed to go fishing though?
I can do fishing.
Fly fishing?
I do a little fly fishing. I went last week. Barbara and I went over to the Bahamas, and we caught a fair number of fish. We had a great time, and caught a couple of friends of us. Sherry and Jack Nicklaus went with us, and two friends of ours from a college fraternity brother.
Really?
Yeah, we've been friends for 50 years or 60 years, whatever it's been. I guess 60 years. And we all had a great time and caught a lot of fish, and the weather was good. And how can you beat that for a little bit of about 3 days off?
And I love the fact that Barbara is just as competitive bone fishing against you.
Barbara, Barbara used to go, and she said, I can't throw a fly rod. I can't throw a fly. I said, Barbara, you can catch a trout. And she said, but I can't catch a bonefish. That's harder. And I said, and she used to throw a spinning rod with a shrimp on it. So one day I said to her, Barbara, now you got to throw the fly rod. Let's see what happens. You can catch a bonefish. She threw it out, stripped the bonefish, took it. I've never seen a strip since.
Unless you're eating it.
She does. Yeah, that's right. But she does well. She does really nicely at fly fishing, and she enjoys it. She has fun with it, and she's a great fishing companion for me, and it allows us to spend more time together as a family because all my kids love to fish too.
That's so cool.
I want to go back to Augusta because we were all there with ESPN for the Masters coverage, and your grandson GT hitting the hole-in-one. Where does that rank now that you've had a little bit of time?
And thanks for making me cry too. You did. I don't know anyone who saw that live, or even my friends who saw it on tape, then text me after I said turn on the TV right now and said, why did you just make me cry? And I was like, I didn't make you cry. You blame Jack. It's his fault.
Where does that moment rank for
It
you?
was pretty high. I would have to think that, when you do stuff yourself, you work at it and it happens and you move on. But when one of your kids or one of your grandkids, particularly your grandkids, do something, and it's so special. And I just hit that, and we had talked about it. He even told his dad the night before, wouldn't it be great if I could make my first hole-in-one at Augusta tomorrow? I mean, how do you talk about that? And then he knocks it in the hole. And of course, his name is Gary Thomas, after his son or after his father, and his father's named after Gary Player. So Gary Player was in the group. So Gary was there, and you thought he was one of Gary's sons,
right?
Yes.
I mean,
the way that Gary celebrated.
That's why Gary was so excited, because he feels that feeling and affection towards GT, and so we all had a great time. And that shot, I mean, GT's going to be a nice player. I took him back to Augusta a couple of weeks later with his dad, and he plays all the way back. I go up to the front tees and he plays back. And he was even par for 14 holes, and he did bogey in, but. 76 is still a pretty good score for a 15-year-old.
Absolutely.
And people don't know this too. He's musically talented as well.
He's very talented. He plays a piano, plays a guitar, he sings, he writes his own music. He loves it. He is a ham. I'm telling you,
really?
He loves to be in front of a crowd. Somebody say,
comedian.
You want to sing, GT? A lot of people out there, oh, yeah.
So how has his celebrity risen from that moment at the Masters? I bet he
was that way before that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't worry too much about him. He's pretty grounded.
Yeah.
A lot of kids, you worry about them scratching their ears out here about 3 feet,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't worry about GT. He's very grounded, a good kid, straight A student, and he's a good kid.
I want to ask you this, Jack. When you've got these young stars, and another thing I love about golf is the young players can seek knowledge from the greatest. When one of these young players comes up to you and they said, Jack, I need one piece of advice from the greatest of all time, what are you telling them?
Well, I don't really tell them one piece of advice. If the guys come, and I'm very flattered that they do come to me, is I want to find out what their problems are, what they're thinking, or what they're doing, so that I can tailor my answer to what really can actually help them, rather than just give them. I don't want to interject something that they don't need or be part of, and I don't want to inject anything unless they want it. I mean, I've got 30 of the young pros are members down at the Bears Club. Mm-hmm. It's our club in Florida, and maybe 10 or 12 of them have come to me and said, "Can we have lunch? I'd like to talk to you, Mr. Nicklaus, and talk about this, talk about that." I said, "Fine, delighted. I'm happy to help anytime they want to do it." And we sit down, and I say, "Yeah, what's on your mind?" So I let them talk, and if I can interject something that will help them, it's fine. I do not want to get in and start saying, I think you need to do this. Mm-hmm. That's the last thing I want to do. I want to help them. I want them to enjoy the game. Give them a little help that maybe can help their career, and give them a little, just a little tidbit that can move here and there. If they want me to do more, I'm happy to do more. But they've all got their own teachers and their own people, sure. And I don't want to interfere with their teachers.
But still, you got
do it the right way.
Yeah,
you have the house where you got the cool house. You got the house where the cool kids want to hang out and want to pick your brain. Is there a part of you that's like, I didn't necessarily expect this, but it's pretty nice?
Well, no, I didn't expect it, Michael. I never have expected it. I mean, I've got 22 grandkids, so and my kids never ask me about advice. So kids never ask a dad.
That's kind of funny.
No, that's true.
Dad don't know.
That's not actually the truth. But
of course,
but you know how kids don't really come to their dad. I remember Jackie told a story the other night. He said, "Remember with 13th hole." He was playing at a junior. I was 13 years old. He was playing the 13th hole, and he hit a putt. And he lifted his head badly and hit a bad putt. And I looked over. I said, fundamentals. You got to keep your head still. And he walked off with the kid he's playing with. He says, "What was that all about?" He says, "Oh, it's my dad." He says, "He didn't know anything about this game." So but that's typical of a child.
Yes,
that's very typical. So but the kids that are on tour are not my kids, but to have a 22-year-old come to you and ask you a question to a 78-year-old is kind of unusual, but a lot of them have, and it keeps me young, keeps me involved in the game of golf. It's very flattering to me, and I think I can actually impart some advice that can help him.
I'm going to ask you for a favor. Next year at the Memorial, I need you to post signs everywhere of his picture, and do not serve him any more milkshakes.
Oh, no. What we do is we make about 48 different flavors.
Yeah.
And Michael's only been through 43 of them.
Oh, no.
He's got
That is
5 more
correct.
flavors, and he's got it, but he's got to test them first, and then he has to come back to make sure he likes them the second time. So you got to wait a couple years for that.
Couple years, and then it's done.
Then it's done.
Then we'll
He
cut him
knows
off.
me, and this is your ice cream. How did you decide to come when you came up with your ice cream? I want to know all about that as a guy who loves ice cream.
Well, the Schwann Food Company up in Minneapolis or Minnesota, Marshall, Minnesota, actually, came to us and wanted to get into the retail business and asked us if we would like to be involved. I said, well, I don't get involved unless we really are involved. So Barbara and I got involved with the makeup of flavors and testing them and changing them and so forth. And we ended up with, I think we got 14 flavors of ice cream. And, it's good ice cream. The trouble
Really
is
good ice cream.
it's a hard business.
Yeah.
It's a hard business to get into. And, it depends on what the buyer at a store wants. And you got to tailor to him. And some stores will take 2 or 3 flavors. Some will take a bunch. I don't know. But, it's that part's a pain in the neck. But the ice cream's really good.
Yeah.
How many people hit you up for like their dream flavor? Like, Jack, make me this flavor.
Well, we probably got most every flavor anybody would want. There's some really good flavors in there.
Collins, what would
really
be your
good.
flavor if you had a Jack line of ice cream that your flavor? What would you do? Like if like they would say the
So the
caddy.
ice creams that he has out,
Yeah.
I've had 8 of the flavors so far.
Yeah.
And anything
You
that's
haven't
coffee
had, you haven't
flavored
had
ice
blueberry cheesecake yet, have you?
Oh, that exists.
Oh, that's really
Right.
good.
Oh, see? And this is why Mike's never getting skinny. So
Because every year.
There's a lot of good ones.
I know. And I'm going to taste them. I don't know. But before we let you go, I got one bone to pick with you.
Okay.
So your conversation with Faldo talking about caddies with Angelo and the caddy, how the caddies have sometimes can have too much input now. But you said something that I thought to myself, hold on a minute. This is also part of it. Before you, there was no such thing as yardage books.
That's right.
So you and Angelo developed some serious yardage books. And no one was doing that.
I developed the yardage books.
Yes, you
long,
did. Yeah,
long before
okay.
Angelo.
Yeah, okay, you're right. You did. You developed the yardage books, and Angelo was there. with you.
Angelo was terrific. In other words, in my way of thinking, we were kidding about it, the 3 ups of caddying. You show up, keep up, and shut up. and that's all right. And realistically, that's really what you want. But what you want with a caddy is a young man or I don't care, an older man. It doesn't make any difference. Somebody that you relate to, who's a friend, who gets along with you, who your chemistry is good. And they know when to say something and when not to say something.
That's so important.
That's so important. And sure, you could have caddies that could help you, and you can have caddies that can hurt you.
Yep.
And frankly, I did most of my own work, and I really wanted somebody that I had just had good chemistry with, somebody that I got along. Now, other people, I know a lot of people who won't even hit a golf shot with a caddy, not telling him where to hit it. And
one of the guys who I have a show with on SiriusXM, Pat Perez, he will not hit a shot unless his caddy is like, "Here's the shot."
Well, but that's okay if that's what Pat does. And a lot of kids grow up that way today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really criticizing that. I'm saying that's not my flavor.
Right.
To me, playing the game of golf and being able to figure out whether the ball is going to go downhill, uphill, break to the right, break to the left, where's the grain, what's the wind doing. Those are the things to me that make the game of golf fun. Mm-hmm. Figuring them out yourself. Now, if you want to use your caddy as a backup to that, that's the way I use the caddy. A reinforcement. That's what in other words, I would walk my own yardages before we got yardage books, and I'd get there and I'd get 110 yards. I said, Angelo, what do you got? He says, I got 110. I know that I'm not far off. I mean, I didn't add rather than subtract or vice versa. And
that already.
That's what I use a caddy for. And do I think that it's a bad idea to have a caddy. No, I think caddies are great. I love caddies. I think I love having, but to me, the fun of the game is figuring out the game yourself, not being dependent on somebody else. Jack Grout always taught me, he says, be responsible for your own golf game. And part of being responsible for your own golf game is being responsible all the way through the bag. And Bobby Jones, I used to go down to his cabin every year at Augusta. And he came down, he said, Jack, he says, I was a good golfer when I was a young man, but I had my 7 lean years, which were lean years for him was from age 14 to 21. But he said, until I could get on a golf course, correct myself, figure out what I was doing, change it in the middle of a tournament, he says, that's when I became a golfer. So the more you rely on a caddy, the more dependent you are on somebody else and not responsible for your own golf game. So when Jones said he became a golfer, that's when he started winning everything. And so that's what Jack Grout taught me, to be responsible for myself. So that, and I said all the years that I caddied, even when I had my kids caddied for me, who were great caddies. They're probably the best caddies I ever had, actually. They never told me what club to pull out of the bag.
Or what shot to hit.
They don't know what you're going to hit, how you're going to hit it, how you feel. And if somebody else puts something else in your mind, I think that makes it very difficult.
To be 100% confident in the shot you're going to hit.
Even if it was wrong. If I even had it wrong and hit the shot the best to my ability, I think I'd be closer than if I got confused and didn't know what shot to play and swung at it.
And the only person that you would be able to blame would be yourself for that.
And I don't want to blame somebody else. If I make a mistake, it's my mistake.
Jack, you're the best. We appreciate your time. And little do you know that you've now given me a motto to use on our podcast with our caddy here. Show up, keep up, and shut up. That's going to work for him now,
that's
right?
And make sure you use that with milkshakes too.
Yes, Michael.
That's how I can shut up. I'll just be eating ice cream and talk.
And it shakes up.
Shakes up.
Jack, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Man, this was fantastic. You don't have anything on your bucket list, do you?
No, just here to talk with you, Michael.
Oh, man. See? That's what I'm talking about. Jack Nicklaus, the greatest of all time, period.
You know what my favorite part of the Jack conversation was, and we'll post pictures on our Instagram, but just do the social media now, at Matty and Caddy, Matty, M-A-T-T-Y, the word and Caddy, C-A-D-D-I-E, both Twitter and Instagram. We'll post pictures from our interviews, etc. But the one thing that I loved about the Jack conversation, just because of the greatness that you're in, but then he held serve with us. He held it down for 30 more minutes after the interview.
And you had a train to catch.
I had to catch a train.
Yeah. I had to drive you.
And you and you had to do a hit for SVP.
Yep.
And we're sitting there looking at each other like,
I'm not leaving.
I've got to go.
I ain't leaving.
Can't leave.
You leaving? I'm not leaving. That's how, for me personally, that's how I know, like, I can call Jack Nicklaus my friend, is because even when we're not working and we're not doing the job of recording stuff, we still just stand around talking. And the fact now to know that he's comfortable enough to want to hang out with us afterwards and tell stories and just start needling and talking back and forth. It still gives me goosebumps. And I told you there's only one guy that I get butterflies when I gotta talk
Mike was
to interview.
Pacey. You were pacing. I was
pacing and stuff. But then he puts me in such ease because once we start needling each other, and my favorite part was talking about the yardage book stuff and then the caddy stuff.
Oh, I'm gonna print a T-shirt that says "Show up, keep up, shut up." That's the official motto of the podcast. Show up, keep up.
As a caddy, I will set it on fire while you're wearing it.
No, you won't.
Yes, I will.
You need to just adhere to that standard in perpetuity. So our thanks to Scott Tolley and Jack Nicklaus for making time for us at the US Open. It was really a bucket list moment. There's now a tour going on, I believe, outside our studio.
I know.
And
I feel like a goldfish.
It's either rookie camp or a tour. And now Michael is running around like a pterodactyl, and people are laughing at him.
It's like a goldfish.
We are in the middle of a
fish bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our thanks to Jack, Scott Tolley, and his entire staff for bringing Jack out there. Looking back, we're going to be on, unlike, we're not going to break any rules like Phil Mickelson on this here podcast.
Nope.
And looking back at the SVP podcast, the SVP round, looking back at that scorecard, I thought we scored pretty well.
Yes.
But we did find one spot where we may have made a mistake.
Where Matty and the Caddy bogeyed.
So we bogeyed the story on how Stevie Williams saved you a 2-stroke penalty at the U.S. Open at Shinnecock in 2004. I've had more people reach out about that story. So that's where we bogeyed. So please make the bogey a par and tell the story how Stevie, Tiger's caddy at the time, saved you 2 strokes.
So I let everyone know that I was caddying for Daniel Chopra. We get paired with Tiger on Saturday, and the course is burnt out. And it's the first hole is playing downwind and is reachable. So both Daniel and Tiger hit driver. They both end up in the front left green side bunker. Tiger plays the bunker shot first. Me, all excited, I'm going to help out. So I'm going to grab the rake and jump down in the bunker and fix Tiger's stuff. You know what I mean? I'll rake Tiger's marks. At the time, that would have been a 2-stroke penalty because Daniel hadn't played his shot yet. It's no longer a penalty.
But then it was.
Stevie is leaning on the rake. The rake, the bottom part of the rake that you actually do the raking with is on the ground, and he's leaning on the handle with his left hand. And I go to grab the rake out of his hand, and it doesn't move. And he's not even looking at me. He's just looking kind of out into the sky over there. And I'm...
And he wouldn't let go.
And
he's a strong dude.
He wouldn't let go. Now, you have to understand that he didn't know me from Adam. I was just some idiot rookie caddy that he had never been paired with before, who's going to go try and get a 2-stroke penalty. And because the caddy brethren is so small, he wouldn't let me do it on a stage that big. And he didn't have to do that. He could have easily let go of that rake and was like, knock yourself out, stupid. Here you go, 2 strokes. Now we're beating you. But he wouldn't do it.
And I understand you recounted the story with him.
Yeah.
For
so
ESPN.
Just a couple years ago at the Tour Championship, he's caddying for Adam Scott, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get him on camera because I've never publicly thanked him for doing that for me. Set the camera up. Stevie, hey, can I jam it? Yeah, of course. Mike comes over, and I was like, listen, you did something for me you didn't have to do at the 2004, and I tell him the whole story, and I'm getting like trying not to get choked up because it's like emotional. It's just, man, you didn't have to do that. It was the brethren of caddies and what this means. And thank you so much for the whole. And he looks at me and he goes, oh, cool, man. I don't remember. I don't remember something. And I was just like, oh, I'm gonna.
That was your moment. Like you were in love and he was in like.
Wasn't even in like.
Yeah.
He wasn't even like, look, what I brought you is something so wonderful and beautiful. And he was like, hey, do you like cars? No, what?
So look, he
did laugh about it, and it was great.
We'll be the first to admit our mistakes on the podcast in terms of bogeys and birdies. So you hit us up via social media. Speaking of social media, at Maddie and Caddy on Twitter, we put it out there. Hashtag for the podcast, FORE golf. See how we got creative and cute there. You can ask us a question. We'll pick one and answer it this week. Our question this week comes in from BJ Lisco. He wants to know, using the hashtag for the podcast, why does it seem like every so often the USGA tries to make the U.S. Open about themselves and not about the golfers?
It's not every so often. Every year it's something. Every year it's something. And it's a shame.
It's almost as if they want to prove they're overlords of golf.
Yeah. And then when someone shows them up, Phil Mickelson, instead of people going, see? Stop trying to make it about you, or someone like Phil's going to do what he did. No. Too many people just go, how dare Phil? Like even what Stephen A was just saying earlier. I love Stephen A to death, but to say that it's a meritocracy, this is the dude that covers basketball. So
wait,
LeBron.
Why are you saying this now? Why don't you say it to his face?
Because he was getting ready to leave.
Say it to his face next time.
I will say it to him. Next time I'm on the show, I will. But when and I love what he was saying and I understand it. But to say it's strictly a meritocracy is to forget that LeBron gets calls that other players don't get.
That's true.
There was a whole book called The Jordan Rules that came out about how Michael Jordan got totally treated different than anybody else on the Chicago Bulls. So yes, in theory, a meritocracy is fantastic, but is it a reality? No, it's not. There are superstars in every sport, and those superstars get treated different than the regular old Joes that no one's ever heard about. And is that okay? Well, whether it is or not, it is going to happen.
Been a much better Bowman if you said it to him. Now you got to say it when he's not here. It's been a bunch because then you would have been arguing with him right now.
Exactly.
So now you're tough.
No.
You are a microphone's version of Twitter tough guy. Right
See, this is messed up. All I was thinking was, this is awesome. Stephen A. came in to chat with us for a second. Yeah. But guess what? We still ain't talked to Jack Nicklaus yet. We ain't done. We might want to take some time for the Nicklaus thing. So I'm not going to get into.
I see what you're saying. Like you were trying to save time, like actual minutes and seconds for the podcast, rather than just man up and say, you know what, this could be a moment for the podcast.
The Nicklaus was the moment, man. That's the point. The Nicklaus was the moment, not the Stephen A. Smith. Guess what we can do?
What?
Mr. Why you man I'm saying nothing? You know what we can do? Stephen A's in the building.
Now we have time.
Next time we come up here, we can have a podcast with Stephen A. on.
Well, you know what? We will.
So there you go.
And
guess what I'm going to say?
What?
I'm going to say everything I say right now to his face.
He'll forget that like Stevie Williams forgot about saving you 2 strokes.
Guess what we have? We got a cool producer that's recording what we're doing right now.
Stephen A. Smith does 30 hours of TV and radio a day. He's not going to remember this conversation with this little podcast.
You think he's not going to remember calling me Abby?
Dear Abby?
Yeah. I know he's going to remember that.
Thank you for the listen on the Jack Nicklaus round. Caddy, who do we have next week?
A guy who I consider someone like my big brother, but a guy who in the entertainment industry is a titan, especially when it comes to comedy, but who also grew up with a love of golf that few other people have.
Avid golfer.
Avid golfer, and who may say, but has told me and has said publicly on many occasions that if he and I would have known each other when we were younger, that we would be the next Trevino duo. We'd be the next dynamic duo.
We've teased it long enough. Who is it?
George Lopez.
Can't wait.
I can't wait either.
I can't wait to talk to George Lopez. We had lunch with him, incidentally, in West Palm. You and I did, when we were first talking about this podcast.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. You've got a great relationship with him. I met him for the first time then. Can't wait to sit and talk golf, life, and everything in between with him. Our thanks to you, the beautiful listener, for the download. Please subscribe. Give us comments. Give us 5 stars. Apple Podcasts, Maddie and the Caddy, the ESPN app. Hit us up on social media at Maddie and Caddy.
If you love the podcast, tell everybody. If you hate the podcast, keep your mouth shut. Let people find out for themselves. Don't say nothing. Let them find out for themselves.
Maddie and Caddy on Instagram. Maddie and Caddy on Twitter. We appreciate all of the feedback from episode 1. I look forward to next week.
I know.
With George. There's going to be a lot of beeping out that way. A lot of bleeps.
That's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe we'll let Mom sit in because then he won't. No, he won't care.
We want him on.
We want him.
For the Caddy, I'm Maddie. We appreciate the support, the download, and the listen. Have a great week. Hit them straight, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to Maddie and the Caddy. Check out more great ESPN podcasts in the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Maddie and the Caddy.